Your schedule and your itinerary is very full lately. There's a lot of demand for Debra Medina.
There is. It's a good thing, Lynn. I'm working hard, and I think Texans are getting pretty excited about really seriously addressing this growing government in our state and getting us back to kind of that individual freedom. Boy, we talk about that, and yet every time there's a crisis, it seems like the politicians give us more government. People are really starting to wake up and say, oh, no, I want to take care of this myself, and I'm carrying the message for that, and so people are getting pretty excited. We had a great debate a week ago and got another one coming up this Friday.
Well, let me ask you if the election of Scott Brown in Massachusetts has given you any renewed vigor in your campaign.
Boy, people are excited about that race. You know, I'm not sure how many similarities there are, other than that we're both on the Republican ticket. I don't know ideologically how many similarities there are between Scott Brown and I, but people really are seeing that as proof positive that an outsider, underdog, if you will, candidate can in fact be victorious in this political season that we find ourselves in. I think we were pleasantly surprised in our campaign, invigorated, regenerated, renewed after the last debate. That's a message that I've been carrying for a number of years and certainly been talking about a lot for the past 10 or 11 months, and all of a sudden you get it on statewide television, and it just kind of like wildfire.
Well, being involved in that KERA debate was a big uplift for your candidacy, wasn't it?
It absolutely was. We were the number 3 search term on Google for the remainder of the night, number 1 for about an hour after the debate, and number 3 for the remainder of the night. We saw a 12-fold increase in our web traffic and raised in the week following the debate half as much money as we had raised in the preceding 11 months.
All right. That's one of the questions, Debra, that a lot of people have, and it is that Kay Bailey Hutchison and Rick Perry have big campaign chests, and I just want to ask you, how can you compete with them money-wise, or can you?
I'm not competing money-wise, I don't think. Certainly we have money coming in, and we're trying to spend it very wisely. I think this campaign really is the epitome of what you want government to be. We've got a pretty small, tight central campaign, and then this grassroots organization all over the state of Texas. We have people calling every day and emailing us. They're putting up billboards. They are paying for radio and television commercials in their local markets and just asking us to send the media to them so that they can get it running out in their own area. Lots of shoe leather and elbow grease, and that's what I've said from the beginning. That's what's going to win this race. The other two like to talk about grassroots campaigns, but as you saw this weekend, you know, the governor is paying people, and some with kind of rather nefarious backgrounds, to work for him. We really have people stepping up and volunteering all over the state, working hard, and that is going to be what carries us to victory in this race. This is a people's candidacy, and it really is a people's candidacy.
All right. What about newspaper endorsements? That's been in the news this morning, that maybe Governor Perry isn't going to worry about them. Do newspaper endorsements carry the weight that they used to, and will you seek newspaper endorsements?
Boy, you know, Lynn, that's a good question. In fact, I'm on my way this morning to sit with the Austin American-Statesman editorial board.
Yeah, you have to get the name right. It's the Austin Un-American Snakeskin.
Oh, okay. I'm going to sit with those guys this morning, and we've got other interviews coming up. Frankly, we've seen, you know, throughout the state, the governor is getting a lot of these endorsements, and we've seen what he does to people when they don't support him. I think that what we're saying is, at the end of the day, those endorsements don't necessarily equal votes.
All right. Well, what about other endorsements? You're seeing Kay Bailey Hutchison get the bulk of the endorsements from the old Bush administrations. H.W. has come out for her. Dick Cheney has. And then for Rick Perry, you've got Sarah Palin coming down here and stumping for Rick Perry. Aren't you and Sarah Palin sort of more kindred spirits than she would be with Rick Perry?
I think there are a lot of folks that certainly think that way. I have said, you know, to crowds all over Texas, the endorsement that's most important to me is yours. The poll that counts is the one that ends at 7 o'clock on March the 2nd. That's the one we're working for. that's the ball that we need to keep our eye on, and that's where we're headed. So I expect we're going to continue to work very hard. My whole family is on board with this, and we've got just a great team around the state and more joining us every day.
Well, one of the things, Deborah, I have noticed that the Democrats in particular are doing, and some of the Jurassic press, which is what I call Russia's drive-by media, they're trying to separate the Republican Party by traditional Republicans and the Tea Party movement. There were actually two mentions of that in the Dallas Morning News today as I combed through the paper. Are you aligned with the Tea Party movement?
Well, I guess we have to go back and figure out what a traditional Republican is. If traditional Republicans predate here in Texas the kind of late 80s, early 90s Republicans, then I'm probably one of those. Are you going to go back as far as Taft and Goldwater?
Well, let's say
that's the traditional Republican.
Well, let's put in one category Goldwater, William F. Buckley, Ronald Reagan, and that sort of Republican in the other category, which I would call more of a Nixonian type thing, perhaps Nixon and George H.W. Bush, and maybe George W. Bush, who tampered with the government some, and Nixon put in a wage price and wage freeze, which I just could not believe he did at the time, and I was just a kid. Which one of those camps would you be mostly?
No, I'm in the first camp.
Okay, just checking here. So what does Ronald Reagan mean to you, Deborah?
I've got a picture of Reagan on my wall. I graduated from high school in 1980, so that was the first I got to vote in the general election. My birthday is June the 1st, so I didn't get to vote in the primary. That November 1980 general election was the first one that I got to vote in, and that was really a turning of the tide. Gosh, he did some good things and had some good suggestions that didn't get implemented, but that and prior, I think, is the ideology that I would look to, not the George H.W. Bush model that we saw since.
Deborah, probably the most contentious thing that happened at the KERA debate was when Kay Bailey Hutchison was asked about Roe v. Wade, and she was asked 4 times, would you favor abolishing Roe v. Wade? And the answer was no, I would not, but she never would say that because she had this nuanced answer about, well, that would send it back to the states, and then some states would be open abortion, which is kind of the way we are now. So let me ask you, Debra Medina, the same question straight ahead. Are you in favor of abolishing Roe v. Wade?
Yeah, and I'd really like to know why we haven't done that in Texas. If we're as pro-life as a state as I think we are, I think we should be pushing the Supreme Court to overturn it, and that means you ban abortion in Texas, you take a hard stand on that, you do all you can to protect and care for and comfort women who find themselves in an unwanted pregnancy. But government's job is to protect innocent life. There's none more innocent than that unborn baby. So I believe we really should have done a lot more work than we have and let the Supreme Court or the federal government try to tell us we can't otherwise.
All right, so there is no question then about Debra Medina's commitment to pro-life.
There ought not be.
All right, let me ask you this then, because I think this may be where Hutchison was coming from, and it's maybe a defensible argument, maybe not. I'll ask your opinion. Let's say that we did overturn Roe v. Wade. That sends abortion back to the states because we would not have at that point any kind of a constitutional amendment in favor of life. And so suppose that Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Utah, maybe Arizona, a few states banned abortions altogether except in the most extreme case, and we won't get into that argument. But let's say that the usual suspects, Deborah, did not. California, Oregon, Washington, Wisconsin, Michigan, New York State, Illinois. These would all be states with pretty much open abortion. Is that where Kay Bailey Hutchison was coming from? Do you agree with her at all that it would open a floodgate in other states?
I don't. I think that it's protected now, so I don't believe that Roe v. Wade is going to make abortion more prevalent in our society. Overturning Roe v. Wade would make it more prevalent. That doesn't make any sense to me.